It's gotten countless people out of tight situations and opened a few bottles of wine along the way. The Swiss Army knife is no ordinary pocket knife. It's gone from being a humble, utilitarian tool to a global cult icon and a true ambassador of Swiss culture.
It's so iconic, it's well known all over the world, and it's part of this country for sure.
The Swiss Army knife doesn't break, it performs, and people know about this multifunctionality, this reliability in 100% of the cases. That's what probably made it.
One of the latest models comes with 17 different functions and an ergonomically sculpted grip to fit the contours of your hand. Wenger, one of the two Swiss companies that makes the Army knife, introduced a giant version in 2006 to commemorate 100 years of innovation. This one won't fit into your pocket, but collectors love it since it's loaded with every tool ever made.
The giant knife is 86 tools, it's 130 something functions. It's a massive Swiss Army knife that incorporates every tool we ever built into one knife.
The very first Swiss Army knife was way simpler than that. It was introduced in 1891 after a new rifle was issued to soldiers in the Swiss Army.
And this new rifle demanded a new tool. And the Army then designed a tool which included a folding blade and a screwdriver and then a can opener, so the soldier would have the possibility to open a can to get some food. All these tools were needed for the soldier to be able to repair the rifle outside, maybe in action.
It was a Swiss knife maker, Karl Elsner, who came up with the means for producing the knife for the Army. He owned a company called VICTORINOX.
It's a pure technical design. It's no idea of being beautiful. It just had to be very solid. It had to be functional.
But one tool the Army never provided its soldiers was a corkscrew.
No, corkscrew was not part of the soldier's knife. Actually, until today, a corkscrew is not part of the soldier knife. Probably the Army leaders think that soldiers do not drink wine, which is okay.
This handy little pocket knife quickly worked its way into the general population of Switzerland. Its international appeal exploded after World War II, when American soldiers started bringing them home.
The Swiss Army knife made its way around the world mostly because of the American soldiers and the Canadian soldiers that served during World War II. They were looking for something to bring home. Many of the Swiss Army knives were brought home to North America by the GIs, by these soldiers.
Today, it seems like they make a Swiss Army knife for every activity imaginable. Here in Delémont, Switzerland, the Wenger company still makes $50,000 a year for the Swiss Army and more than $15 million a year for the rest of the world. It all starts with thick steel coils that are stamped into rough tool shapes, in this case the blade. The thumb notch for opening the blade is stamped at the same time.
When you produce a big number of knives, it's not that easy, but every blade has to be the same. It's the same thickness, the same angle, and the sharpness. So the steel is important, this mixture between hardness and flexibility of the steel, which makes it possible also that somebody who has a little bit of knowledge can sharpen the blade once it's used.
But unlike most knives, the blade with this one is just the start. In the factory, blades come from the cutting machine with rough edges, so they need to be smoothed in a process called deburring. The knife blades tumble with ceramic beads in a virtual cyclone of smoothing action. A constant spray of water cools the heat caused by friction. The blades are separated from the polishing beads and sent on a conveyor belt to the next step, the dryer. The blades are now smooth and clean, but they're still relatively soft. If you were to bend one now, it would behave like this. So now they enter the first hardening process.
To reach the mechanical properties and the corrosion resistance, we need to do this hardening process. Hardening consists of a heating process in an oven to over 1000 degrees.
The blades are quickly cooled as they leave the furnace, which toughens them further. But at this point, they're brittle, so they need to be tempered.
The tempering is really important, otherwise the blades would break. So hardening process is a brutal process at high temperatures, and tempering is a soft process at low temperatures.
Now the blades are ready for grinding, which is done robotically. The first machine grinds one side of the blade, while the second machine grinds the other.
To assure super sharp blades, we have to do the sharpening, and the sharpening process is a secret, and we use special grinding wheels for that.
Now the tools are loaded into a carousel, which takes them into a finer grinding station. In this case, the tool is a nail file. The liquid keeps the tools cool during this process. Next, all the tools arrive at the polishing department, where they spin in these tubs suspended in a solution of water, ceramic beads, and polishing paste.
The polishing is very important because of the corrosion resistance and the washing. So if you have a perfect surface, you have less risk that your blades will corrode. And it's also easier to wash a perfect clean surface like a mirror surface than a scratching surface.
In another part of the factory, injection molding machines make the handles.
We need to inject this synthetic material into an injection machine, so it is warmed up more than 200 degrees, so it will melt. The crust is also produced here in our molding units, but the process remains also a fabrication secret.
On exiting the molding machine, each handle receives a strip of protective film. Now all the parts arrive in assembly, where building a Swiss Army knife is much like making a multi-layered sandwich. Beginning with an aluminum spacer, they slot all the tools and springs onto rivets.
So a body is made up with different levels. Each level is separated by an aluminum plate and held by rivets. So all the tools run around the rivets, and you have a body of the knife.
The assembled sandwich is tightened in a press, where the rivets are secured with attachments called bushings. In the final step of assembly, the key rings are added, the traditional red handles are put on. Then the knives are set in a press to clamp them together. Toothpicks and tweezers are inserted, and the knives are sent to one final quality check. The testers flip open every attachment at lightning speed.
Every Swiss Army knife, 100% is tested, and every function is tested before it is packed in.
Now they're shipped to more than 150 countries around the world, ready to spring into action whenever the need should arise.